One of my best students, I'll just throw this in. One of my best students over the years has been my father. And
Wow.
my father on Monday, September 22nd, turned 102 years old.
Are you kidding? Wow.
And
Congratulations.
he's in very good health. I FaceTimed with him on,
Wow.
on Monday. Uh, so yeah, so
102 years old. Oh my God.
102 years old and healthy,
So we
you
will have
know,
you here for a long time. You have great genes.
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully, hopefully, hopefully.
Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Third Chances. My today guest is really exciting for me because we have so much in common. Russell Mariani is the co-founder of the Center for Functional Nutrition in Northampton, Massachusetts. He's a health educator and digestive wellness expert. He has been in private practice since 1980s. As a health restoration specialist, he has expertise in gut health, cellular regeneration, reverse aging, detoxification, and redox signaling. He specializes in difficult to solve health challenges. Don't we all need that? In a very young age, back in 1973, Russell was diagnosed with a medically incurable inflammatory bowel disease called ulcerative colitis. He chose a path of nutritional healing based upon a more traditional approach to organic whole foods, cooking, and eating. He got better quickly and he has been healthy and symptom free for over 40 years, which is really remarkable. Since 1980, Russell has helped thousands of people regain their health through dietary and lifestyle improvements through classes, seminars, retreats, and personal consultations. He is passionate about teaching others how to be and become more proactive in their own self care. Russell, I am super excited to have you on my show. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Vera. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And funny thing is, Russell is currently in Canada in his summer beautiful home, while I live in Florida and where Canadians come for winter breaks. So, what is wrong with Massachusetts in the summer?
Oh, too hot, too humid. But
Oh,
in a sense, I grew up in New Jersey, and that is often too hot and too humid, just
yeah.
outside of New York City. But my wife is Canadian. My wife was born in
Oh, okay.
Toronto, grew up in Toronto, and so this property has been in the family for a long time, since the 1860s. So we
Wow.
have a wonderful opportunity to be in a very beautiful place during the summer months. And it is definitely cooler here
Mm.
than south of the border. So
Oh,
so
for
we
sure.
enjoy that
Yeah.
beautiful summer weather and cool nights.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I'm sure it's the part of the healthy lifestyle that you preach and live and devote your life to. And I'm really excited about you being here because we have so much in common. And I can't wait to learn more deeply your story because I'm assuming as a young boy your first choice wasn't to be becoming a natural doctor or healer or digestive specialist. There's something happened that changed your path. But if we can go back before that, what were your child dreams? What were you planning to be when you grow up?
Yeah, so that's actually an interesting question. I grew up, as I said, in New Jersey, in the suburbs of New Jersey. I think my earliest ambition was to be a professional athlete.
I
Uh, I,
suspected
I,
that. Yeah.
I absolutely loved sports. I played football and basketball and baseball, and all my heroes as a child were sports heroes,
Mhm.
athletes. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and
Oh.
Wilt Chamberlain and Walt Frazier and people like that. So So I did not even know of the existence of natural health or holistic health or integrative health. Any of those things were way outside of my life growing up. Um, my my family was pretty standard American. We followed a standard American diet, and to my mother's credit, we did not have a lot of junk food in the
Mhm.
house, and I think that was partly intentional. She knew the difference between good food and junk food, and partly because on a very limited budget, why waste your dollars on unhealthy food when
Yeah.
meals were so important? So the earliest I remember thinking differently about becoming an athlete was probably when I started high school, and I simply had the thought that I would like to be a teacher.
Mhm.
Uh, and back then, was like a history teacher, and then an English teacher. So that was interesting. I started writing. I started writing poetry when I was 14 years old. I didn't tell anybody about that, of course, because my outer facade was as an athlete,
Yeah.
but I found around age 14, 15 that I had all these very other interests,
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
artistic and creative writing and things like that. So that was I lived a very ordinary life growing up, and but because of my commitment to athletics, it turned out that when I was a senior in high school, so I'm age 17, turning 18.
Mhm.
My high school basketball coach approached me in the summer of 1972, and he said, "Look, next winter, you're going to be one of the tallest players on the team. You're going to be one of the biggest players on the team, and you're going to end up covering guys who are much bigger than you are. So I would like you to put on 20 pounds."
Mhm.
And
Meaning
I
muscle,
said,
probably, right?
"Of muscle, exactly, exactly."
Yeah.
Lifting weights. I did all those things. I was very committed to being an athlete. So of course I said, "Okay, coach, I'll be happy to do that. Tell me what to do."
Mhm.
And he probably gave me a piece of paper uh, about starting this high protein diet, and it really was nothing, nothing at all compared to the relatively better quality high protein diets today. I was eating hot dogs and hamburgers and these things that they called minute steaks and bacon and Taylor ham and cheese sandwiches. And if I ate any vegetables that year, it was totally by accident. I
Hmm.
drank a lot of milk. I ate a lot of ice cream. I was doing everything I could to gain weight. And of course, because I was young, I didn't really put on fat. I did end up putting on muscle because of all the exercise and lifting weights. But probably a month into that diet,
Just
I
month.
started,
Wow.
yeah. So, it started in the summer of 72. I had my big healing crisis in February 1973. But probably 1 month into this diet, I started to have minor symptoms of irritable bowel because of this crazy
Mhm.
diet, but I didn't connect the dots.
Yeah.
I just continued to do what I had done previously, which is, if I ever had a loose bowel movement, I took kaopectate. If I ever had nausea, I would take Pepto-Bismol. I was taking over-the-counter things
Yeah.
to treat my symptoms. Well, by winter time, things were starting to get much worse. I would come home from basketball games, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and almost always have to run to the bathroom and almost always have a loose bowel movement. Sorry for the graphic details, everyone.
Yeah.
And then one night, I turned to flush the toilet, and the bowl was full of blood. And
Uh-oh.
so that was the turning point.
Hmm.
And then within a few days, I was at the doctor, gastroenterologist, had a colonoscopy without any sedation.
Yeah.
So that
Oh
was
gosh.
that was a that was a horrific experience. Anyway, at the end of the colonoscopy, the doctor said to me that he thought I had colon cancer. He actually said that without any evidence of a biopsy, without anything like that.
Oh my God.
He
And you are a
said
young boy.
I had just turned 18 years old, and so he said, I have bad news. It looks really bad in there. It's all inflamed. It's all torn up. That's why the bleeding is happening. And I think you have colon cancer. We have to do more tests. So come back in a couple of weeks. And I sat there totally shocked, of course.
Yeah.
And the only thing that came to my mind was that I had been on this crazy high protein diet for the
Hmm.
last 9 months or so. And so I said, do you think my condition has anything to do with my diet? And I started to explain that I had been on this high protein diet. And he shut me down immediately. And he said, no, 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 no. This has nothing to do with your diet. And I said, well,
Interesting. Yeah.
what, how did this happen? What causes this? And he said, we don't know. Maybe stress.
Yeah.
And he left it at that and left the room. So now, of course, talk about stress. I had never experienced more stress in my whole life other than that moment where I was told I might have cancer.
Right.
So no, in 1973, no internet. I didn't know anybody. I was not even aware at that point of an alternative healing world, of a holistic health world. But I was a pretty good student. And so I went to the library and I simply started looking up colon health, diet, and colon cancer, all
Hmm.
kind of what would be common sense searches. And I found in the library, in my little town library, 3 or 4 books on the subject of diet and cancer, if you can believe it, even back then.
Yeah.
So of course I started reading them, and right away it's saying, a lack of dietary fiber is definitely connected to inflammatory bowel disease. So I'm like, well, there you go. There's the explanation. I'm all excited. I go back to the doctor again a week later, 2 weeks later, and I brought the books with me. I walk into his office. I start talking, Doc, look, I mean, there's definitely a connection. He shut me down. He said, young man, don't self-diagnose. There's no connection whatsoever with your connection, with your condition and your diet.
Wow.
And so again, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I can't believe it. I can't believe this guy. I said, well, again, what causes this? He says, we don't know,
But
but
I
we have
know it's
medic.
not the food.
Right, but I know it's not the food.
Oh my gosh.
So, and then he says, you'll probably need to be on medication every day for the rest of your life,
Hmm.
and possibly surgery to remove part or all of your colon before the age of 25. Now I'm sitting there. I'm not saying anything, and I decided I'm not going to say anything else because he keeps shutting
Yeah.
me down every
Yeah. Yeah.
every time I open my mouth. So I just sat there and he said, come back in 2 weeks and we'll start your treatment. Yes, doctor. Okay. So I walked out the office. I go into the parking lot. I'm by myself. I tore up the appointment
Yeah.
and I made the decision that I'm not going back there. I don't like how I was treated. I don't like
Yeah.
how I was mistreated. He didn't take me seriously. He didn't answer my questions. He dismissed everything.
Right.
None of that made sense. So So I simply started to incorporate some of the ideas that I had read in those books. And back then, basically, they were, like I said earlier, if I had any fiber-rich grains or vegetables in my diet when I was on that high protein diet, it was totally by accident. So I simply started eating more normal foods again. And I did go out of my way to buy, I think, a bottle of bran because I had read that this was a source of good fiber, at least back in those days.
Mhm.
And within a week, I started to feel much better. And within a month, things were definitely uh, on the mend. So that experience got my attention uh, on many levels in many ways. And I ended up finishing high school, going to college, and for the most part was able to manage my symptoms pretty well. But probably halfway through college, symptoms started returning.
Hmm.
And very fortunate for me, I met a young woman. Her name is Lisa. She was in one of my meditation classes. So I ended up majoring in English and minoring in religion and philosophy. So I ended up taking a course in Eastern meditation traditions. And I met this young woman, Lisa, who, in conversation with her, found out that she had had cancer, 3 or 4 years earlier,
Mhm.
and healed herself through a macrobiotic diet, which is basically a traditional whole foods diet. So, of course, I was fascinated by this, and she had healed herself, and then she had come back to university to get a degree in biology because she was going to become a doctor. And she ended up becoming an acupuncturist. She had a practice for many years in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston. So Lisa was a very important person in my life.
Mhm.
She taught me how to cook. I really did not know how to cook before meeting her. I kind of, did the best I could. And then through my experience with Lisa, I became very interested in learning more about macrobiotics. So in 1978, I moved to Boston. I enrolled at the Cushey Institute, which was the international center back then for macrobiotic studies. I was in the first graduating class of the Cushey Institute in 1979. And in 1980, I joined a small group of people in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we had an East-West center where we taught macrobiotic principles and practices. We had a little cafe, a little restaurant. We served miso soup and brown rice and steamed vegetables and things like that. So
Oh.
that was the beginning of my career as a practitioner. I was a founding member of the American Shiatsu Association. So literally the first 10 years from 1980 to 1990, I was doing mostly acupressure treatments,
Mhm.
shiatsu treatments, but in all those treatments, people were always asking me about how they could get better, how they could prevent these problems. So I ended up doing a lot of dietary counseling. And then, by around 1990, I made the shift and made the decision to work 100% with dietary counseling, and I've been doing it ever since.
That,
So,
it's interesting because you were focused on your athletic career and you found answers for yourself, but eventually you turn around and start using it for other people and helping other people. What was that shift for you? What made you decide that this should be your focus for life?
uh, thank you for asking that question, Vera. So, so there was a period of time when I was very sick. Um, after um, after the initial experience, I think I said about 2 years later, things started to get really bad again.
Hmm.
And then I met Lisa.
Right.
So there was a period of probably 6 months where not only was my digestive system not working very well, I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of discomfort. I did not have a solution. I did not see a solution. I also experienced some clinical depression for the first time in my life. I also suffered from acute anxiety attacks. So it's like my life was falling apart. And here I am, like 20 years old. I'm 21 years old.
Wow.
And I didn't know what was happening. And I didn't see a solution. And I didn't want to go back to the doctors because I knew
Yeah.
what was going to happen. They wouldn't answer my questions and they were just going to give me drugs. So out of so I so I when I grew up, I was in a fairly religious family, and so I did have kind of a strong connection to God and my own understanding, of course.
Hmm.
And so I started to pray every night, and my prayer basically was, "Dear God, I'm tired of this. I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired all the time.
Hmm.
Please show me the way out of this. Please introduce me to somebody. Somebody out there has to know how to solve this problem."
Hmm.
And so it was after several months. So the prayer was not just, help me find a solution. The prayer was a bargain. And the prayer bargain was, if I can find a solution, I will dedicate the rest of my life to helping people who find themselves in a situation like I'm in,
Hmm.
because I couldn't believe it. I mean, a couple of years ago, I'm perfectly fine, very healthy, great athlete,
Right. Yeah.
bright future ahead of me, and suddenly I'm like in hell. So
Mm.
so it was after a few months of that kind of prayer bargain with God that I met Lisa. And when I met her, I definitely felt that she was the answer to my prayers.
She was the sign. Wow.
And she was literally the first person that I met in the world of alternative healing. And again, I was very lucky because she was a very good role model.
Yeah.
She was a she was a person of honesty, a person of integrity. She had learned the science, she knew physiology, she understood about the microbiome. She understood all kinds of things that I was just beginning to learn about. So
And
she was
she had the diagnosis that they were scaring you with on top of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And she had healed herself
Right.
from a medically incurable condition. That's right.
That's incredible. So you kept your word to God.
To the best of my ability, yes. And
I
I
love it.
and I still do that. I still feel that I just turned 70 this year, this past winter, and I see many years ahead of me. So doing this work,
Yeah.
one of my best students, I'll just throw this in. One of my best students over the years has been my father, and
Wow.
my father on Monday, September 22nd, turned 102 years old,
Are you kidding? Wow.
and
Congratulations.
he's in very good health. I FaceTimed with him on,
Wow.
on Monday. Uh, so yeah, so
102 years old. Oh my God.
102 years old and healthy.
So we will
You know,
have you here for a long time. You have great genes.
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully, hopefully, hopefully.
Oh, this is fascinating. Russell, one question that popped to my mind. Your last name uh, stimulates that maybe there is some Italian heritage there?
Oh yeah, so I am the son of Dante. My father's name is Dante Mariani. And so, yes, his parents were from Italy.
Okay.
His grandparents lived in Italy. His mother was born in Italy. His father was my grandfather was my Italian grandfather was born here in the States. But
Oh,
yes, so that whole side of my family is Italian, going all the way back. My mother is Irish and Scottish.
wow, what a
So
deadly
that
combination.
that was an interesting combination growing up.
Well, both of those ancestries are known for very well homemade cooking. So that's why I was thinking in those terms, because the European families, it was much more natural to cook at home everything and cook from scratch and use good ingredients that maybe they even grew themselves. So there was good, good base on top.
Yes. Yes, actually, my Italian grandmother always had a garden, vegetable garden. She had a pantry with fresh herbs, which I was always fascinated with as a kid. But, I never asked her any questions. My mother was not interested in traditional diets.
No.
My Irish grandmother and my Scottish grandfather were very much interested in just being modern Americans. They were not interested in any kind of traditional approach to food or anything. But when I was introduced by Lisa to these traditional foods, I immediately thought of my grandmother and the way she cooked.
Yeah.
She always made polenta. She made a lot of traditional Italian dishes. She did not, she lived into her 90s. She was very healthy. She did not eat a lot at dinner time, which became, a habit that I would teach people, when they were in distress to eat more earlier in the day and very little in the evening, and
Hmm.
sometimes to even skip that evening meal as a way to help the body to heal. So again, it was a good influence in my life, but I only caught it on the periphery.
This is very interesting to me because all kinds of thoughts come to my head. I'm originally Czech, so I'm also European, and so that tradition is very rich in our family. And what you just said is interesting because there's a saying in Czech that is snídani sněz sám, oběd se rozděl s přítelem a večeři dej nepříteli. Meaning you eat breakfast by yourself, you share your lunch with friend, and give your dinner to your enemy. Meaning the rhythm of the day stimulates that your biggest meal should be at the beginning of the day to give you energy, then light lunch, and then possibly even skip dinner. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All
So
good.
Vera, I'm so delighted that you shared that story. In the 1990s, I had a 2-day seminar called Building Bridges to Better Health. And I traveled to 125 cities in the US and Canada over a 3-year period. And I gave this lecture about the fundamentals of functional medicine and functional nutrition. And,
Mhm.
it was the beginnings of the type of program and educational model that I teach today, and that has evolved over the years. I was giving this workshop in Boston in like 1996. And at the lunch break, and I had just talked about, not eating late at night, et cetera, and all these things. I went to the back of the room, kind of making my way out to the lobby and was going to go get my lunch by myself because I didn't want to be talking with people during the seminar. There was a woman who was trying to get my attention. She kept, waving her hand, waving her hand. And she made her way over to me and she said, she was Russian. She had a very strong Russian accent. And she said, I want you to know this. We have a saying in my country, and I think you will understand it. And she said, have breakfast by yourself, have lunch with a friend, give supper to your enemy.
Yeah, very, very Eastern European, I guess. Comes from the
Yes, yes,
wisdom.
yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so, and but the wisdom in that is that food is important, and it's important to be mindful when you're eating.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand that traditional people did not eat the largest meal of the day at dinner time like we do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
They would the largest meal of the day would either be breakfast or the meal in the middle of the day. And if they ate a meal in the evening, it was very little food. So it's an interesting principle, and it's common to a lot of traditional societies, especially these what they call the blue zone cultures,
right.
where in Okinawa, Japan, in Sardinia, part of Italy, some Greek islands, and I'm sure different areas, other areas around the world. And this is the highest concentration of people who live past 100 years.
Yeah.
And they
And a
live
quality
past 100
life.
years,
It's
and
not
they're
just
still very active and healthy. Yeah.
exactly. It's not just about the length of the life, but the quality of it for sure. Yeah.
All right.
So could you tell me a little bit about if somebody is listening who may have some issues with digestive stuff, and I love that you said in your bio that you specialized in challenges that are difficult because it's usually puzzle for doctors, and since doctors, the traditional doctors, most of the doctors don't really have education on nutrition, they really go to pills or surgery, and that's not solution of the problem, that's solution of the symptoms you are having. But the root of the problem is much deeper, and that's what you specialized in. Could you walk me through what somebody, let's say I have an issue with my bowel or digestive problems, I'm constantly bloated, whatever. I don't, luckily, but many people do. What would be what they can expect if they reach out to you? How does the working with you look like?
Sure. Thank you for asking that question, Vera. And so it is true that I specialize in difficult to solve cases. Probably 75% of my practice is focused on people who have digestive system disorders. The other 25% is everything else, everything else under the sun. But no matter what a person's symptoms are, no matter what their diagnosed condition is, I walk everybody through the same exact process and program because we start by fixing the gut. So I'll give you kind of a brief summary of how I approach all that, but I wanted to also clarify that being a holistic oriented practitioner is also not a guarantee that they have expertise in this world of the microbiome and are not necessarily effective in helping the people who come to them
Yeah.
with these digestive system disorders. So even though I would say 75% of my practice is people who have digestive system disorders, most of those people, like 90% of those people, have already been to a holistic oriented practitioner or a naturopath or some other type of
Right, whatever they
alternative
could. Yeah.
practitioner, and they have not gotten the help that they're looking for.
I see.
So, so, and I think that the overall reason why I am so effective is that I made the decision to do this work to help people, not to earn an income or not to make a living. It was never, oh, I'm going to be that type of practitioner because that's a good career move and I can
Yeah.
make plenty of money. That was never the motivation or reason. And so um, through my macrobiotic education, we were taught as educators. So the practitioners identified mostly as educators.
Yeah.
And as educators, we were detectives. We had this understanding of physiology. We had this understanding of root cause areas. We had this understanding of certain principles and certain practices. And then we were very good, and I became very good at asking questions about the minutia, the little details in somebody's diet. Not just what they ate and how they prepared it, but when they ate, why they ate, where they ate, how they ate. For example, and I actually said this last night in a webinar I did. If there was one thing that anybody could do listening to this who has currently experiencing at any level digestive system distress, the easiest thing to do is, even before you even consider changing your diet, when you eat your next meal or snack, make sure you sit down. Make sure you move away from all negative stress. Turn the TV off. Don't read the newspaper. Sit quietly, and before you put any food in your mouth, sit quietly and think about what you're doing.
Mhm.
You're going to eat food. You're going to nourish your body. And then chew one mouthful at a time, more than you ever have before, at least 50 times, every mouthful. And if people would actually do that, just start with that one simple habit, they could experience significant improvement and relief just by doing that one thing. So most people find me because they're at a party or in a conversation and somebody has heard about me because they have worked with me. So most of the people I work with, most of our clients, hear about me through a word of mouth referral. So that's kind of number one. And then we offer everyone what we call a free 30-minute first step conversation. The purpose of that conversation is for you, the person suffering from something, to tell me briefly what it is, what the symptoms are. We have everybody fill out a very short form, a one-page form. And I listen to them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then I say, okay, I understand what you've just described. I understand the symptoms that you have. I understand how long you've been suffering. I understand all these things that you've tried. I can definitely help you. And I can help you because the essence of your problem, the deepest root of your problem is this thing that we call intestinal dysbiosis, which is an overgrowth of the wrong kind of organisms in your system. And when anyone has intestinal dysbiosis and they've had it long enough, it doesn't respond to a change of diet. It doesn't respond to taking probiotics.
Wow.
It doesn't respond to, now it might respond and you might feel a little improvement, but not significant improvement. The reason for that,
that's interesting. Yeah.
yes,
So it
it's
becomes like immune to the treatments, kind of. Wow.
It's interesting, but it's mostly frustrating, of course, for the people who are making commitments, making investments. They're going to practitioners, they're trying different diets, they're trying different supplements, and it's not working. And that's usually when people contact me or find out about me. I have a very particular protocol using very specialized herbal products that I've used exclusively for almost 30 years now to address and resolve this condition of intestinal dysbiosis. Organic quality herbs, wild-crafted herbs, totally safe, very effective. So, that is the biggest piece of the puzzle, the biggest part of the solution for most of the people that I work with. But as you know, from looking at my website or reading my book, I have identified 7 interconnected and root cause areas that all need to be addressed and changes need to be made in each of these areas. One of those areas is dysbiosis. One of those areas has to do with the gut microbiome and restoring it to health.
Yeah.
But in order to do that most effectively, we have to make changes in the other 7 root cause areas. And by the way, one of the 7 is redox signaling. So, but I became well known inside the ASEA community because people were being introduced to the redox signaling supplement and encouraged to be a little better hydrated because that's part of the culture.
Yeah.
And yet but they weren't getting better because they had this condition of dysbiosis. So people were referred to me, and then I'd walk them through this process. They would get better, and then finally they were benefiting from their redox supplement.
Can I ask you how you were introduced to redox?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And I just want to clarify that last point. So even if you don't think you're benefiting from this, so the people that, were referred to me had serious digestive system disorders. Other parts of their body were definitely benefiting from the redox signaling molecules. It's impossible to not benefit from the redox signaling molecules. But obviously, people want to feel 100% healthy. And so when
and
they
possibly within a week.
Yeah, and possibly within a week. So I'm glad you said that, because even though I know there are some people who experience benefits within a week or 10 days, part of the condition that I ask people to commit to is to give this at least 3 months.
Yeah.
And preferably 6 months, because there's a physiological basis for that request. And that has to do with the life cycle of cells. Most of the cells in our body have a 90 to 120 day life cycle. So it's simply unreasonable to expect people to have a massive, significant improvement before 90 days have elapsed. So, and the company is very good about explaining things like that. So how I was introduced, it was back in June of 2011. A very dear friend of mine who was a practitioner, was a student of holistic health, was very knowledgeable, was a black belt in martial arts.
Oh, wow.
But he had been suffering from late stage Lyme disease for many, many years, like 10 years. I had seen him in person in January of 2011, and he was not doing well at all. In fact, at that point, I didn't think he was going to make it, and many other people didn't think he was going to make it. He had already invested a small fortune in solutions for his Lyme disease, and nothing had worked. In June of 2011, I got a phone call one day, and it was from my friend Arthur, thanks to caller ID. So I answered the phone, and he sounded completely normal. So of course I was like, "Oh my God, Art, you sound great. What happened?" And he said, "Redox signaling molecules."
Wow.
And I said, "What the heck are redox signaling molecules?" So the fact that he had experienced significant improvement I mean, close to 100% improvement in like 3 months.
Wow.
That got my attention, so I didn't order right away. It took me about a month to place my first order. I wanted to, I'm a practitioner and people are always introducing me to things, and I had never heard of redox signaling molecules. So I was very lucky. Back then, Dr. Gary Samuelson, who was the scientist who made this possible, he is the guy who stabilized the molecules, making the supplements possible. I had several conversations with him. I had several conversations with Dr. Rob Ward and many other people who helped me understand that what redox signaling molecules are, what they're capable of doing. And so, of course, I made my first purchase, and I'm very glad I did. And I have been consuming this wonderful breakthrough product every day for now over 14 years.
And I'm grateful because if it wasn't for that, I would never know of you.
Yes, thank you. And I've made many wonderful friends
Yeah.
in the ASEA community, and I met you in Cancun. We were just in Cancun at the 15th annual ASEA convention, so it was
And
great.
paradoxically, I interrupted you getting breakfast.
Yes, and that was fine, perfectly fine. I was in line.
That's
You didn't
right. Yeah,
interrupt me when I was eating,
that's right.
so
Yeah,
it
but
was
I
great.
didn't want to miss the chance because obviously I knew you from some, video workshops, but we never met in person. And you are very tall, so you are easy not to miss.
Well, thank you. I don't consider myself very tall. I'm 6 foot tall, for those of you who were
Right. Well,
wondering, but we have some tall people in ASEA, for sure. And I have two friends who are 6'8". Now that's tall. So what would you like to know next?
well, you touched on the technology, and you already were using protocols with herbs, and I'm assuming maybe even some supplements and probiotics and everything like that, aside of the diet protocol, and that I'm assuming. So
Yes, yes,
how
true.
did Redox fit into your protocol? How do you incorporate this in your practice?
Yeah, so I can say that I was effective before I was introduced to ASEA. So you're right, I had very particular protocols around diet, what to eat, what to avoid, what supplements to take. I for 20 years or more prior to learning about ASEA, um, um, 30 years prior to learning about ASEA, I had learned about superfood supplements. I had learned about digestive enzymes. I had learned about probiotics, of course, antioxidants, and I learned about these specialized herbs to address and resolve the intestinal dysbiosis. I learned about kidney cleansing and liver cleansing and all kinds of things. So what I saw happening as I introduced my clients to the redox supplement is that people would heal faster and they would heal deeper. And of course, we know why that is true because of what redox signaling molecules do. Redox signaling molecules are made inside the mitochondria of every healthy cell of our body. So this is a native to our body. These molecules are native to our body, and the breakthrough that is the ASEA supplement is that the scientists figured out how to manufacture outside the body bioactive, stabilized, and balanced redox signaling molecules that when you put them into the body recognizes them as their own. So this is not a foreign substance coming into the body that the body needs to break down and figure out what to do with.
Yeah.
And all food, all natural food, all organic food are essentially foreign substances, but the body is used to them over thousands of years
Right.
of, not just evolution, but thousands of years of agriculture. So it's a very unique product. Redox signaling molecules are messenger molecules, they're communication molecules, and they are activation molecules. Literally nothing happens inside of our cells without the assistance of the redox signaling molecules. So on their own, the redox signaling molecules are doing many, many, many important things. Probably for people listening, if you're not familiar with this, the easiest thing to remember is that redox signaling molecules detect cellular damage as it's occurring. They signal for the genetic repair codes, and then they activate those genetic repair codes. I've heard many scientists in the ASEA community say redox signaling molecules turn off the genetic signals that lead to dysfunction, degeneration, and dis-ease,
Mm-hmm.
and they turn on the genetic codes, they turn on the genetic signals that allow that cell to repair damage, restore itself to normal functioning, and then optimize its functioning.
Yeah.
So it is a biomedical breakthrough, and we're very lucky to have access to it.
So would it be safe to say that when you have more of the redox in your body, everything else that you do will be much more profound, and like you said, the body is suddenly capable of detecting and repairing faster than without it?
100% correct. And that's very well said, Vera. So most people who are committed to their health are already doing many things. They're
Yeah.
just not fully benefiting from them. So when those people add the redox supplement to the mix of good things they're already doing, they get more benefit from the good things they're already doing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing to know. So yes, so redox signaling molecules enhance all the good or complementary things that you're already doing. One thing that I always like to point out, because a lot of people don't know this, is that uh, the reason that we do anything, breathe air, conscious breathing, drinking better quality water, eating better quality food, taking good nutritional supplements, the reason we do all that is to get those raw materials inside of our cells,
Right.
with the understanding that once inside our cells, the cells know what to do with it. But what a lot of people don't understand is whether or not the raw materials in your diet and your supplement program, whether or not those raw materials get inside the cell, has to do with the health of the cell membrane. Everything has to pass through openings on the wall of the cell, and that wall is called the cell membrane. There are literally thousands of individual openings on the cell membrane. And you can think of the cell as a water balloon, kind of, floating, pressing up against other little water balloons inside the body. Well, the nutrients, of course, end up in our blood and in our lymphatic fluid. And all cells are surrounded by cellular fluid, lymphatic fluid, blood, and that's where the cell will get the raw materials. But whether or not they enter the cell has to do with the health, vitality, and alertness of the gatekeeper
Mm-hmm.
at these openings on the cell membrane. And every opening has a gatekeeper, and that gatekeeper is kept alert by redox signaling molecules.
Wow.
And so if there is so most people who are not 100% healthy, the major reason is they have a deficiency and imbalance in the area of redox signaling. And what's happening for a lot of people is even though they're going to great lengths to eat better food and take better supplements, those raw materials are not getting inside the cell because the gatekeeper is asleep.
Yeah.
So when those people start drinking ASEA and rubbing Renew and Redox Gold, suddenly that gatekeeper wakes up, and now all the good things that you're already doing start happening much more efficiently. All those good raw materials are metabolized more efficiently inside the cell. The products that every cell is designed to make, like enzymes and hormones, are made more efficiently. And equally important to everything that we've just said, the toxins produced through normal metabolic activity are more efficiently removed from the cell. So everything that the cell is capable of doing is made better or is enhanced through redox signaling.
Oh, this is wonderful explanation. I loved it. This is very, very visual for people to understand. Because sometimes I trip over when people believe they already do everything right. And let's be honest, it's not cheap to be buying good quality supplements, buying organic food, really, really do maximum for your health. But as you perfectly suggested, if the redox signaling is deficient in the body, you may be even throwing money out of the window because the body isn't able to really benefit from it fully. That's the
100%
difference.
correct.
Oh.
100% correct. And you are throwing money out the window because your body's not benefiting from those supplements. The cells may be absorbing 5 or 10% instead of 100%.
Wow.
So this is a good segue because what we're talking about right now is the ability of cells through the cell membrane to absorb and assimilate micronutrients.
Yeah.
So the same thing happens inside people's digestive system. Many people are going out of their way to eat better food and take better supplements, including probiotics and enzymes, etc. But because they have dysbiosis, because they have an overgrowth of the wrong kind of organisms, they're not absorbing and assimilating the root system of their body, the root system of their intestines. And this is a literal thing. Protruding from the wall of the small intestine are these little finger-like projections. And at the tips of those projections are microscopic projections. And these are called the villi and the microvilli of the intestines, inside the small intestine primarily. And they function exactly the same way that the root system of a tree functions, the root system of a plant functions, the root system of our food plants function. The only way a plant gets its nutrients, the only way you have a healthy carrot is that carrot's ability to absorb and assimilate the minerals from the soil and transform them into vitamins and minerals and trace minerals in the carrot. That happens in the soil because of the soil bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy soil has probiotics. And so the same thing happens inside of our body. If our root system is not healthy, we cannot absorb and assimilate the nutrients from our food or the nutrients in our supplements.
Mhm.
So the same thing happens, Vera, as you just said. So here are people spending money, investing money, and they're wasting the money because their gut, their intestine, is not capable in its current condition of dysbiosis to properly, effectively absorb and assimilate the nutrients from the food through the villi into the bloodstream, into the liver, where from the liver, then it goes to all the organs and systems and cells of the body. So that kind of brings us, kind of back to the beginning. That's the full loop. So it doesn't matter what you eat, it matters what your body is capable of absorbing and assimilating.
Yeah. I just wanna, this would be a good time to probably put out a little disclaimer because this is a fascinating discussion for me, Russell. I love it because there's such a close connection with food and nutrition and redox. I just want to make sure that everybody understand we are not trying to intend or imply that that redox would be substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment of any disease or illness. Redox technology does not treat, cure, heal, prevent, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. They simply empower, just like Russell said, the body to heal itself by increasing the cellular efficiency, functions, and communication. Just want to make sure that everybody understands what we are saying here. But it's essential, fundamental role in the body. And that's sometimes what people don't capture when they first get introduced to this because they believe, oh, I already do so many things. This is completely different angle how we address what body is capable of doing, correct?
Correct. And thank you for making that clarification about medical claims. We're not making any medical claims at all. So thank you for sharing that. So two things. The first thing is the redox signaling molecules. That middle word is the most important. Signaling. So everybody, or most people, have a cell phone, and many people have one of these iPhones. And today we know that to optimize the capabilities inside the cell phone, you have to have 5 bars of signal strength.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? That's such an interesting correlation there. Because if you only have 2 bars of signal strength, you might not even be able to make a phone call, let alone downloading videos or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very good analogy to what's happening in a lot of people's bodies. Even though they're doing all these things, the signal strength in their own body, and it's actually a real thing. It's called the redox potential of your body, the redox potential of your cells. If the redox potential of your body is only at 2 instead of 5, no matter what you do, you're not going to experience improvement. But if you're, and this is the breakthrough, that is the redox signaling supplement. It's a bioreplenishment product. It will raise the signaling capacity of your body from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. That's normal signaling strength or signaling capacity. And so as you're moving from 2 to 5, you should start to feel improvements. And definitely when you're at 5, your body is now functioning not just far more efficiently, but it's functioning normally. And from my point of view, when everything is functioning normally, when cells are functioning normally, when systems are functioning normally, when organs are functioning normally, by definition, that means there are no negative symptoms at all. So you don't have to be Superman or Superwoman. We're not talking about optimal functioning. That's for elite athletes and elite whatever. We're talking about normal functioning, just restoring normal functioning. So I always think it's important to make that distinction because nobody's asking anybody to start running marathons. Nobody's asking anybody to do some kind of super duper, discipline type of program. We're, but this is what's possible when you bio-replenish your body with redox signaling molecules.
But yeah, it's a very good point because when you were talking about how miserable life became when you were suffering from those symptoms and there was nothing that was making improvements and you didn't see the light in the end of the tunnel, you fell into depression. That there is no life when you are suffering from either painful symptoms or whatever problem there is. And sometimes we can't even figure out what the problem really is, what the cause is. And there's no life. So to bring it back to normalcy is huge for people like that. Like you,
Exactly.
they do have athletes on it, but they are seeking different benefits than for regular people like you and me.
Right.
I had 3 back surgeries. I had screws and bolts in my lumbar. And I wasn't even 50 when I was told that that's the quality of the life that I'll have. There is no improvement to be expected anymore. And I got my life back thanks to this. The word supplement to me is more I'm supplementing body with nutrition that I don't get from food because the food is depleted and the soil is depleted and the quality of food is not there today as it was 50 years ago. But so for me, when I say supplement, that comes to mind. This is more bioreplenishment really. And it's just
Right.
like you said, it's like operating system of your computer. So
That's right.
no matter what you add, it's going to function more optimally in your body if you have enough of this. Yeah.
That's right. I didn't know that about you, Vera. So I'm so sorry that you suffered. And I'm so happy that you found a solution, that you found relief
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
got your life back.
That's for sure.
Yeah, the word life, vitality comes to mind. At the lowest point of my healing crisis, I had no vitality, and that was a very strange experience indeed. And I would say that maybe the most important thing about my life in relationship to my ability to help other people to heal is because I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been at the lowest point. In my own way of thinking and feeling, I can't imagine anybody feeling worse than I did at my lowest point.
And you were very young, so you had the entire life in front of you.
Yeah,
That's on top
yeah,
of that. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm very empathetic to people suffering, and I take very seriously my role as someone who can facilitate somebody's healing process. Before we end today, I did want to make sure that I had an opportunity to clarify this most important principle of natural healing, this most important principle of functional medicine, functional nutrition. And I thought of it when you were reading the clarification about, not making medical claims, et cetera. So I think this will be very helpful. My understanding of the most important physiological principle, which is the deepest root cause of our health and vitality and well being, is the fact that our body is designed to heal itself.
Yeah.
every cell of our body is genetically designed to maintain its health. We call that homeostasis. And so when we are not 100% healthy, it is sometimes very difficult to accept that even though we're not feeling well, every cell of our body is still on our side, trying desperately to bring us back to health.
Mhm.
And that's why anything that we can do to help our body to heal, the body typically responds very quickly because that's what it wants to do. Okay, so again, it's not this product that does any type of healing. That's impossible. The body does the healing, and the body simply requires oxygen, water, food, micronutrients. And when the body is truly healthy, it manufactures redox signaling molecules. And due to age, natural aging, due to premature aging from pollution and toxins and poor diet, due to all the factors that cause our body to become less and less well, a deficiency and imbalance of redox signaling molecules is one of those things that happens to us. And therefore, by replenishing our redox signaling molecules through a redox signaling supplement, and you're right to point out that it's very different than a nutritional supplement. It is absolutely categorically different than any nutritional supplements that exist. In fact, it's in a category by itself. It's in the category of redox signaling. But that's why people experience such a wide variety of improvements, because it doesn't matter what the problem is. One of the root causes of all health problems is an imbalance and deficiency of redox signaling. So when you can restore that, when you can start moving that needle back to normal, then people start to improve.
Yeah.
So this is really
Beautiful.
the most important thing for people to realize. Your body is not your enemy. Your body is your best friend. You may not have experienced it that way. I certainly didn't experience it that way
Yeah.
when I was suffering, but I've come to learn and understand and appreciate that that is the bottom line. And so my job, my responsibility, if I'm going to get better, is to learn how to cooperate with the self-healing capabilities of my own body. And when I do that, sky's the limit. When I do that, when I learn to cooperate correctly and consistently, I believe there's no condition that cannot be healed, that cannot be improved, that cannot be restored to normal functioning.
What a brilliant, brilliant end of our conversation. This is the whole point of my podcast. We have tools in our toolbox, and we always have potential to do more for our body so our body can pay us back in good health, because literally whatever we spend money on, and I was always comparing it like people invest money into their cars and the newest cell phone and everything. You only have one body. You cannot replace that. You can only maintain it in the highest potential to serve you well, because we all age, we all get exposed to different, not so great things for us. But if we keep and maintain the highest potential of being healthy with via diet that we eat, the lifestyle, you mentioned meditation, all these components are important for well-being.
So Vera, I just want to take an opportunity to clarify something that you just said, because I know what you mean. I know what you meant by it. But it's actually incorrect to say that we can't replace our body.
Mhm.
And because the nature of our physiology is that every cell has a life cycle, and at the end of that life cycle, the cell replaces itself, hopefully with a healthier cell. That's what healing is, replacing damaged cells with healthy cells. In fact, the disease process is the opposite of this.
Mhm.
If you replace a relatively healthy cell with a cell that's less well, we call that cellular degeneration.
Mhm.
And that is the basis of all chronic degenerative disease.
Right.
So what we're learning about is regenerative medicine, cellular regeneration. It's possible to put ourselves on a path that every week and every month and every 3 months, the cells of our body are actually healthier than they were before. And there are many scientists who have said, if you really take this seriously and are very consistent, your body is completely replaced every 7 years. Every cell, every organ, every tissue, every bone, everything about your body is completely replaced. But it takes time to do that. So
Yeah.
you
Rebuild.
you can in fact replace your body.
Wow, that's a brilliant point. Thank you so much. You're right. Yeah. So we are rebuilding on a cellular level.
We are either rebuilding and regenerating, improving, or we're going backwards. We're degenerating. We're
Yeah.
causing those cells to function less and less well. That is the basis of all sickness, illness, and disease.
Brilliant point. Thank you so much. That's really well said. And once you understand that and you are able to give your body what it needs, your body will pay you back in benefits. And it's a wonderful feeling to get in charge of your health, because we can all do it. And that's the difference between chasing after symptoms when it's already fire, or being proactive and really do everything in your power to maintain the best possible health. And I'm so grateful, Russell. This was absolutely incredible conversation for me. I love what you just said, because it puts it all in balance. It helps you maintain the optimal possible health for yourself. And I love what you do, because this is so important. And like I said, we go to doctors when something is already wrong. And most of the times it's a puzzle, and we get pill or surgery for it. And that's not the solution of the root of the problem. So I'm grateful that you chose to keep your word, and you are there to helping people to get healthier and do what you do. And I hope we can do this again. I can support you as much as I can. I would love to put your story out so people can learn that there are other ways, that there's never just one option that you got given at a very young age. And luckily you saw through it and you decide to go your own way. It's spectacular to meet people like you, and I'm really grateful that we did. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you very much.